Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaylin. If you're not new, thanks for coming back. Always happy to have you. If you are new here, I like to do a lot of reading, lifestyle, writing, book content here on this channel. And today I'm very excited to share with you my kind of mid-year freak out tag for reading. Here's the deal. If anybody misses the era of tags and challenges on YouTube, it is me. I miss bookish tags so badly. This one though confuses me. I've been seeing a ton of people doing the mid-year freakout tag, but I don't really get why we're freaking out. Like, did I miss something? Is there something I should be stressing about? Is it because the year's halfway over? I really don't know why we're freaking out. In an effort to not freak myself out, we're just gonna reflect on the reading that I've done and chat about the reading that I'm hoping to do this year. So in this video, I plan on talking about my top 3 favorite books that I've read so far this year and my 7-ish that I hope to read by the end of the year, and talk about my least favorite book that I've read so far and any major disappointments. Pardon that mess back there. That's all stuff to go in my classroom in the next couple of weeks. So we're gonna pretend that that's not there. First things first, I'm pretty proud of my reading so far this year. I started very, very strong. When I lived in Boston, I was able to get a ton of reading done commuting on the T. That's gone down a little bit since I've moved and now I have my car. I obviously can't read while I'm driving. And while it's great that my commute is less long, it was kind of nice to have that dedicated reading time, but I wouldn't trade my car for anything. It's been so nice. I will say in the past couple months, like May and June, my reading definitely got disrupted moving in with my partner and, you know, going through job changes and things like that. But now that I'm more on a summer break, I'm really hoping to get that reading back up and running. But I'm still 2 books ahead of schedule. I'm using Goodreads for everything because my reading planner is so beyond not updated. I keep wondering if I should make a video, and I just don't even know if it's worth it at this point because I haven't really taken care of my reading planner since like March. So I set a goal on Goodreads to read 45 books. I don't know why I said 45. I don't know if I didn't have the confidence in myself to do 50, but really in my brain, I'm trying to get to 50 books. I've read 26 of those 45 so far, and it says I'm 2 books ahead of schedule right now. So if I'm trying to get to 50, it means I'm more realistically like a book behind schedule, but that's okay. Let's talk about the top 3 favorite books that I've read so far this year. I don't even know if I can really count this one considering I just read it, but I think I have to. I read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This book has been all over TikTok, booktube, bookstagram, all of the things, and I had to see what it was all about. I actually did a reading vlog for Fourth Wing, so if it's not out already, it's coming. I read that book in 24 hours and it was fantastic. The magic system, the world building, the characters that we had, this whole concept of this magical military school full of dragon riders, I was obsessed. The romance, the little spice, the character, the plot, this like political system going on. I really enjoyed it all. Also, for some reason, dragons are like my favorite mythical creature. So this was like very much up my alley and made me like kind of on a dragon reading kick, but we'll see. So Fourth Wing, the first book of the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros. I said in the vlog, it might be my favorite book I've read so far this year. It's definitely a contender for the best one, but I don't think I can say that just yet. I also read 9 Liars way back in January by Maureen Johnson. That was another book I literally read in 24 hours. That is the 5th Truly Devious book. It's a standalone, so it's not part of the original 3 mysteries. It's its own solid contained mystery. It takes place in England and it goes back between present day and the 1970s, where these group of friends are at an estate and 2 of them end up murdered while they're all on this estate. And Stevie Belle goes to visit her boyfriend who's studying in London, and while she's there decides to solve this mystery. I love Maureen Johnson mysteries. I love them so much. Truly Devious is my favorite mystery series that I've ever read. Honestly, I just devour those books. I get them literally the minute they come out. I get them. Nine Liars came out on my birthday last year, December 27th, and I literally made my boyfriend bring me to Barnes & Noble while we were in Illinois so I could get, specifically to get Nine Liars. So, and that book was a chunk. It was probably like 500 or so pages, and I read the whole thing in one day. 5 stars, fantastic read. I'm a little embarrassed to say that it's in the top 3 of what I've read so far this year, but I'm also not, because this book was such a delight. And that is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. That was on my TBR for this year. It was one of the books that I knew I had to read in 2023, and I read it back in May and I absolutely loved it. It is such a sweet, cozy fantasy. It really felt with the time of my life I was in, about getting a fresh start and just like following your dreams and making yourself happy. And it was so cozy. It was like a hug from a friend. It was just a delight, low stakes, not intense at all, whimsical read. It made me want to go work in a coffee shop again. But if I could do it in a fantastical world, that would be even better. It made me want cinnamon rolls. It was just like all my favorite cozy things wrapped up into one book. I went back through my Goodreads ratings for all of the books that I've read so far this year. How do I want to say this? I'm not mean enough when it comes to rating a book on Goodreads. Half the time I rate a book and I'm just like on the high of finishing a book that I rate it really highly, and then when I go back to think about it, I'm like, that book was not that good. So I always end up adjusting my ratings after the fact, but I really think the book that I'm like the least excited to talk about on this list has to be The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This book was all over my book talk, bookstagram, booktube, whatever. As a Disney nerd, I was all in for a steamy Disney romance, Disney inspired romance. However, the female and male main characters of that series, I both found respectively annoying and insufferable. I really liked the references and the Easter eggs, but I found the plot like incredibly boring, and I am not a fan of like, you can do Grumpy Sunshine without the male main character being a complete jerk face and the girl just being like, whatever. I just really didn't like it. And honestly, I don't want to read the other ones. And I was really excited about that one. I had been waiting for a while to read The Fine Print. It had been sitting on my shelf on my TBR for months, and I finally got excited to read it and read it and was really, really disappointed. I think on Goodreads I gave it 3 stars, but really, I was probably like a 2. Like maybe 2.5 on a good day. And there's one other thing that I don't even think this is in the mid-year freakout tag, but I'm gonna say it. What book I'm proud to have read is I read my first Stephen King this year. I read Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I got it from Libby. I put myself on the wait list for Libby when it first came out, and it literally told me it would take like 4 months for me to be able to be in line to read it, and I powered through that thing. That thing took me a little over a week and a half to read. It was a 600-pound monster. I really, really liked the story. I don't like scary books or like horror or creepy things. I don't like Stephen King movies. So I felt like this was a pretty safe approach, it being more of his longer fantasy style. I thought it was a really cool concept and developed really, really well. It was just interesting. Like, that's the only way I can really describe it. Like, you won't understand Fairy Tale until you go read it yourself. But I'm really proud that I read my first Stephen King. I got out of my comfort zone, read an adult fantasy. I haven't done it in a minute. And I also read like technically a tome, a book over 500 pages. So I am proud for that one. I was going to talk about a book that surprised me and talk about the Midnight Library giving me a mental breakdown, but I feel like we've talked about that a bit here on the channel, so we're not going to do that. Next, I wanted to go ahead and share with you guys the next, what do I have? 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, oh my god, 7 books that I hope to read by the end of the year. This was really difficult. I originally wanted to pull 10 books that I wanted to read by the end of the year, and I looked at my bookshelves and I could not find 10 books that I wanted to read. And not that I don't want to read any of these books, but none of them are super calling to me. Back when I lived in Boston, I think when I made TBRs, it was so much easier to focus on them because I had a limited amount of books. I only had one of those bookshelves back there. So I would make a TBR and pull books from those shelves, but there wasn't that much more to pick outside of the TBR. Like I picked 4 or 5 books, and that'd be a good chunk of the books I had on hand. So there was less like wiggle room, less distractions, but now I think I have these 2 bookcases and another one upstairs. I think I just have too many options and I'm getting really, really scattered. So kind of the way I've been combating that is really intensely mood reading, which is kind of a blessing and a curse because it means I'm picking books and I'm really enjoying them because I'm like fixated on them. But it means if it is not immediately consuming my attention, I'm probably not going to finish it. Like, I'm probably not gonna read it, which makes it just difficult. I need to be like obsessed, all consumed, or we're not reading, which is kind of a bummer. But I've pulled some books that they've been on my TBR for a while. I looked back at my must-read books for the year, and I think I've read actually a lot of them, and most of the rest of them are still here in this pile. I didn't include books that I don't own. I'm trying really hard not to buy books. I'm trying to either get them from Libby or read what I have because I have so many that are waiting to be read. I need to stop spending money on books. So I'm trying my best to do a book ban, and I'm actually doing pretty well. But let's talk about these 7 books that I know I want to read by the end of the year. First, I have been waiting, and I've been waiting for kind of a dumb reason to read this book, if I'm being really honest. I'm gonna call myself out. I got this last year right when it came out, and that is Bravely by Maggie Stiefvater. This is a novelization set in the world of Brave. Merida is our main character here, and she goes on this kind of like quest adventure following the will of the wisps again. It says in the back, 1 princess, 2 gods, 3 voyages, and 4 seasons. So I think it's based in like Scottish mythology, Scottish lore. I know Maggie Stiefvater takes a lot of inspiration in her writing from Celtic and Scottish lore. Like when she wrote Scorpio Races and things like that, that had a lot of heavy Scottish Gaelic Celtic influence. In her other series, I think Lament is the first one, did the same thing. So I know Maggie's gonna crush this. I haven't read Maggie Stiefvater in a very long time, so I'm ready for this. What is dumb is that I have been waiting to feel settled and like comfortable and like cozy in my house so I can just like focus on this, be completely absorbed by this, and just have like a cozy reading day. So far it's giving me fall vibes, but I could be ready a lot sooner to read this than I thought. Next up, I'm only ready to finally read this because I think the last one comes out this fall. I have to double check on that, but I figure we're at least getting closer to the point where the final book is getting close to being published. And that is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Now I read Caraval and I didn't love Caraval, so I'm really giving Stephanie another chance here. I've heard great things about this series as like a YA romantasy fantasy romance series. It's giving fairy tale princess vibes, and I'm really excited about that. I have this one and the second one, and both are signed by Maggie, by Stephanie Garber, so I feel like I have to get the third one also signed, but I do want to give this a shot this year. This is kind of following another book that I read that really surprised me, that I didn't think I would like, and I did, and that was The Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I've been waiting for another like late summer, fall mystery. I just feel like that's just the time. Mystery season is fall, winter for me. So I have Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. I thought these would be really, really difficult to read, but I actually found The Murder on the Orient Express really accessible, and these are pretty short mysteries. I think they're just really fun to try and solve the case alongside the detective, so I'm gonna give this one a try as well. This might be like late summer, end of August, right before school starts, so we'll see what I can do. This one, I honestly just cannot put it on a TBR, another monthly TBR, because I'm embarrassed at this point of how many times this book has shown up on my monthly TBRs, and I have looked at it and I've been like, it is not time to read you. I've talked about this in other videos. There comes a time where I look at a book and I'm like, it is your time to shine. This book has not had this time, but I am just hoping and praying that the time to shine comes at some point in the next 5 months of the year, because I'm so excited to read this book. I think it's going to be really sweet and really, really good. But now I'm also thinking that I'm like putting so much pressure on this book to be read at the right time that I'm gonna ruin it for myself. So we will see. But that is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is a adult romance novel about this girl who basically goes home engaged to a man in New York, and then she goes home and finds her first love and kind of rekindles their friendship, romance, relationship, and she questions her whole life. It's not telling me it's ready to be read yet. I feel post Fourth Wing. I feel like I am back on my YA fantasy bullshit. I know that Fourth Wing is not YA, it's technically new adult. But I'm just like looking for like good quality, fun YA fantasy. Girl loves herself some King Arthur. We have Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. Arguably, this book is not wicked long. It's not like a tome, but for some reason, the length of this book intimidates me. It is a YA dystopian retelling of King Arthur. It features a Black female main character who has these powers, and I don't know why. I'm just like, yes, you are going to be so good and I so want to read you, but I look at it and I'm like, you are dense. And I'm also afraid of you. We'll see. I'm hoping we eventually get there. We haven't had the moment of bravery yet, but I do feel like this summer is the moment. Like if there is a time to read it, it will be this summer. I'm trying to also keep in mind that like I'm gonna be going back to teaching soon. I'm starting a master's program in the fall, and like I feel like I need to do the reading now before I have a breakdown. This book is a classic, and I say this every year. I really literally do. I say this every single year, and I've made no progress towards this goal. But if I even get one, I'm just gonna accept. I'm gonna take the L. I'm gonna accept that I did what I could. I really miss the nostalgia of Harry Potter. So I'm gonna go ahead and I really wanna read at least the first one. If I can get farther in the series, fantastic. I don't anticipate that being the case. But this just, like September, crisp fall days, reading Harry Potter right around back to school time, there is no magic like that magic. And I need it. I really, like I could read this right now. I feel so ready to read it right now, but I am waiting for that perfect first crisp fall day when you are still kind of getting settled into your new school year, but you are still feeling the magic of fall and the nostalgia. That's when I will read this book. And I'm so ready. If I can read this and if I could read others, great. But if I even just read this one and feel that magic, I will be a happy camper. And lastly, this one is, I think this is my most recent book purchase. Guys, I am intimidated. I am intimidated simply because it is an adult fantasy novel. I feel like adult high fantasy are so involved and complicated, and I just don't think I have enough brain power for them, but I love the idea of them. I love their concepts. I love that complexity to an extent. It's like I feel like I'm reading an academic novel, like I've accomplished something when I read them, but I am afraid of them. This book, my cousin read when we were really young, and she's a lot older than I am. Not that old, Dana, I love you. But she was like maybe in college reading this, and I was like 13, and I was like, oh my God, she's so cool. When I'm a grown up, I'm gonna read that book. So I bought it recently, but I can't bring myself to read it, but I like really want to read it. That is Patrick Rothfuss's The Name of the Wind. This is a kind of like small town folk hero story, but that hero is telling his own story as it's happening. So begins a tale unequaled in fantasy literature, the story of a hero told in his own voice. It is a tale of sorrow, a tale of survival, a tale of one man's search for the meaning in his universe, and how that search and the indomitable will that drove it gave birth to a legend. It just looks like, this looks like an intent. You get the vibe. Like, you don't mess with the girl that's reading this in a coffee shop. So I really want to read it. But those are the 7 that I could come up with. I'm sure and I hope that there are other books that I become absolutely obsessed with and want to read and do successfully read this year. I just don't know what they are yet. I haven't hyper fixated on them just yet, but we will get there. But that's, I think, all that I have for you guys today. I've read some good things so far. I have some good things that I want to read the rest of this year. And we're just gonna see what happens. Either way, I'm super happy with my reading progress this year and the reading that I've done. I'm super excited about the reading we've done together. Let me know, how are you feeling about your reading goals? What have been some really great things you've read recently? What are you hoping to read by the end of the year? Also, are you freaking out, or am I the only one that's feeling relatively calm? I'm accepting what's happening at this point. But let me know all of that in the comments, and leave me the little mushroom emoji today. There's a mushroom, right? I'm feeling like very cottagecore. There is a mushroom emoji. Leave me the little mushroom emoji. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and had a little freak out along with me. I will see you guys in my next one, and over on Instagram at RoyReadingCo. Have a wonderful day. Are you focused on me? Have a wonderful day wherever you are, and happy reading. Bye-bye.